Hello, friends. This is Aubrey from Crybaby Sentimental Homestead. Today, we're going to talk about basil and why I love to grow it in my garden. At the end of the video, I'm going to reveal a poor man's substitute for basil. Poor man's basil, and that will be at the end, so you better stick around. All right, guys, so let's get into it. Most of us have used basil in our normal day-to-day lives, in pestos, in pastas and salads, and all of that kind of stuff. And in the word I can't say, the caprese salads, are my absolute favorite, with a little bit of balsamic syrup, just a little bit, with the mozzarella, um, tomatoes, and all that goodness. So I also love to have basil in tea, and there's so many different flavors of basil. There is something for everyone. There are sweet basils, there are spicy basils, there are basils that taste kind of like licorice or like lemon or lime. So there's something for everybody. There's also holy basil or tulsi, which all of these different types of basil have their own unique properties and benefits. So grow them all. Okay. All right, let's get into it then. So I'm using this resource here, medicalnewstoday.com, but there are a lot of other resources out there. You can Google it if you don't believe me. But basil has medicinal properties. It is actually helpful with inflammation. And I have inflammation issues, several different issues with inflammation. So I need to really kickstart my basil in my garden and really get it going. If you go to the grocery store, basil can be pretty expensive. I do recommend buying the plant basils that they have at the grocery store, but just letting you know that they don't transplant very well. It's just a way of having fresh basil kind of cut and come again for like a week or so. But if you want to have long term basil, you really need to grow some and don't delay. I was able to pick up a lot of seeds from my gardener back when his seeds were only $1 a packet. They're $2 now, which is still an awesome bargain. I'm going to show you some of his different varieties that he has available right now, as well as some from Baker Creek and Strictly Medicinal in just a moment. So, oxidative stress can cause all kinds of havoc in your body. Oxidation is an important process in your body. Stress is even an important thing. But when we have chronic amounts of stress, it can be very difficult for your body. And it can actually lead to really chronic issues like rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes, cancers, um, Parkinson's disease, which to me, it really gave me a red flag there because my dad has Parkinsonism. It's not Parkinson's disease, but it basically is a debilitating disease that acts like Parkinson's. And almost all the women on my dad's side of the family have arthritis and fibromyalgia and all kinds of things like that that go along with the inflammation. I have a very strong feeling that the way our society is built and the way we eat our foods and live our lives, with lots of stress, lots of adrenaline and cortisol pumping through our bodies, that and then following that up with comfort foods or convenient foods, and high fructose corn syrup and all kinds of preservatives. I just feel like the way we live our normal lives, if we're part of the rat race, there are people who live a healthy life, and I aspire to get there. Um, I feel like our lives are killing us, and if we don't do something soon, we are going to be very sick. So whenever I read through this information, I'm like, aha, yes, I remember that. I recognize that. So um, I've had a few friends now die of cancer. So I'm very thoughtful about what foods can I have in my diet and also provide for my children. And like familiarity, you guys, familiarity is what is comforting. So anything can be comfort food. So if when you're sad, you drink a cup of basil tea, then and it makes you feel better, you know, you smell the basil and it's uplifting, you start to recognize that becomes your comfort, that becomes your comfort food. So we have to find ways to replace the unhealthy things in our lives and ways of mitigating the oxidative stress that is actually killing us. So I don't have diabetes, but it says here that it's also very, it's also very, basil is also very good for people who are diabetic. Anyone who has a serious issue like that needs to really consult a doctor on making major changes. You would be surprised how effective some herbs can be on illnesses, and if you're taking medications for them, there could be, interactions, or you might not need that medication anymore and you're still taking it, and it can cause issues. So make sure that you are communicating with your health practitioner whenever you're making major changes. If you're just adding a little bit of basil to your pesto, it's not a big deal. But if you're really changing a lot of things, make sure you talk to a doctor. So I do have arthritis in my hands, and in a little bit of my neck. I was able to confirm that with um, a doctor, and they were able to see it actually in my X-rays. So it's something I need to think about. My grandmother was in a chair for the last 30 years, 30 plus years of her life. She was confined to a chair, and she was a very healthy weight. She was a very active lady. She was a very interesting person, but she had early onset arthritis, and I'm going to say I think she had whatever my dad has, whatever that Parkinsonism type thing is, and um, you know I remember growing up as a child, we didn't eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. I don't think I ever had fresh basil, ever, as a child or a teenager. Growing up, I never had fresh basil. I might have some basil that's mixed into an Italian herb blend. That was it. So that's how my family grew up. And, everything was canned. Nothing wrong with canned food, apparently. I'm not going to poo poo that. But like, I never had fresh vegetables other than carrots and potatoes, and occasionally corn on the cob. Fresh fruits, maybe strawberries once in a while, maybe a watermelon once in the summertime. Like, we did not grow up that way, and my dad's family did not grow up with produce like that. So I feel like a lot of that, even though they're an older generation, I feel that some of it might be genetic, but it also might be environmental and cultural, that we have changed the way we eat in our culture, that we are eating things that are not good enough for us. Like, we're omnivores. We should be having a lot of different types of things. Um, yes, people were sick 100 years ago. Yes, people were sick 200 years ago, 500 years ago. People used to have life expectancy at like 30 or 40 years old. But there are also instances of people living to have really long lives, especially like in those blue zone areas in the world, where people live not only for a long time, but they are living. They're walking around, they're active, they are still working, still participating until very advanced ages. And that's what I really want for you. And I also want that for myself. As I scan through here, I'm not going to belabor the article, but I've had liver issues. I can say every once in a while I'll have some liver pain, but as of my last tests that they did on me, my liver issues have resolved, which is apparently um, pretty rare, but lifestyle plays a huge impact. I have non-alcoholic fatty liver, or I had past tense. So the trick here is we need to get off all of those sugary processed carbs and preservatives, and we need to, and I'm going to say my big thing with improving my liver was berries. Lots and lots of berries and herbs. So strawberries, blueberries, raspberries. I had red and yellow raspberries, blackberries, like all that in my garden. Basically, for 4 months out of the year, I eat berries for breakfast. And I feel like that has had an enormous impact on my liver, as well as my teas, which I've made from basil, primarily basil, um, elderberry syrup, um, lemon verbena, and stevia. So I make my own little tea blends. I use mint. I use all kinds of different herbs for my garden. Some of them you wouldn't even think about. Like you might use it to make a pesto, but I'm going to use it to make a tea. And different types of basil have different flavors. So you can actually it makes it feel like you have something really different every time, but you might be having something very similar, but it does have different properties. Um, with having two dear friends die of cancer recently, and having some relative in law die from cancer in the last year. I some of the people who I loved. I mean, I had a friend who died of brain cancer in her 20s, and another friend who died of cancer just last March. Um, and in February, my aunt passed away from cancer as well. So they're not blood relatives, but it really made me think about, for these people, I don't think there's anything they could have done to prevent it, just to be honest about it. But a lot of people will develop cancers later in life because we're exposed to so much stuff in our lives. So while we can't prevent everything, to the extent that we can, why not? If you know that certain kinds of foods can fight cancer, like I'm going to tell you, bitter melon's not my favorite. It's not my favorite, but bitter melon is on the list of things that fight cancer. So are berries, and now that you can see, actually basil fights cancer. So that's wonderful to see. And it also helps with your skin, makes your skin look better. There are topical creams and extracts that can be made from basil that will actually help the signs of aging. I am most concerned not with physical appearance, but absolute wellness. Now, isn't it nice though to have people notice when you're feeling well? Okay. So your skin can actually manifest that, make that evident for other people to see too. It can reduce high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and if you're diabetic, you definitely want to talk to a doctor. Um, but it would be better for you to change your diet and have them adjust your medications than stay on the medications and always have to use them for the rest of your life and never have any kind of improvement. So there's a lot of things that could help people who are diabetic with diet, of course. And if you're drinking soda, if you're drinking sugary sodas and you have diabetes, I'm going to ask you right now, please stop. Please stop drinking soda. It is killing you. And I'm speaking with my heart on this subject because we have a loved one who has pretty significant diabetic issues and still drinks soda. Please stop drinking soda. I had COVID. I have COVID right now. I'm just getting over it. I had COVID back in 2021, and one of the good side effects, I mean, I have parosmia, which messed up my flavors, but one of the good things I'm happy about is that I really lost my craving for soda. And after I had COVID, soda tasted weird to me, so I stopped drinking it. And I usually would just drink diet soda anyway, but it does trick your brain into wanting sugaring things. My doctor has long told me that even when you're using diet sodas, your brain thinks it's getting sugar, even though it's not. And so, like, basically you have a sweet brain, and they just kind of make it kind of clever way of saying that we have a sweet brain if you're eating lots of things that taste sweet. I do like to flavor my basil tea with some kind of sweetener. Um, I was using fresh stevia from my garden, and I feel like that I can justify. Maybe a little bit if you're not diabetic. If you're not diabetic, then maybe sweetening it with a little bit of honey, because sometimes you need to have the real thing to satiate the cravings for something sweet. So if we're always using the fake stuff, um, then it's like, well, that wasn't enough. I have to have more. So um, be cognizant of what your triggers are, but it can help with blood sugar. It can help with cardiovascular health, and they have studies on it placebo studies. They even tell you here that 300 milligrams of dried tulsi leaf, which is a holy basil, not the regular sweet basil, and I'll show you where you can get tulsi seeds, but 300 milligrams, this study showed that after 4 weeks, the participants had lower levels of cholesterol and triglycerides than those who didn't take the actual medication. So that is fabulous. That's wonderful. Now, if you're on high cholesterol medications, you have to talk to your doctors and let them know what you're changing so they can adjust your medications as needed and kind of to roll with it, right? Mental health is huge. I'm going to tell you right now, I have struggled with anxiety and depression probably my entire life. Most of it has been situational, but I am very sensitive to smells and tastes, especially things that are highly medicinal, like basil, rosemary, lavender, lemon verbena. Those kinds of scents are very calming to me. So it's really hard to be depressed and anxious when you're drinking a cup of really therapeutic tea. Um, it also helps with memory loss. And I'm not sure if it's part of the long haulers COVID related issues or possibly some genetic stuff because my dad has Parkinsonism. Um, but every once in a while, I'll get stuck for a word. I'm like, I just can't find the word. And it's just like it's on the tip of my tongue, and I'm like looking up, like the words are gonna suddenly come down, like scroll down in front of my eyes. And I'm just like kind of spaced out trying to find the word. That age related memory loss is very offsetting for someone like me who is used to being able to just like roll words, just like being more articulate and being an educator and all of that. I also have problems sleeping, like not sleeping all the way through the night, having dreams, having racing thoughts. And so when I take away from the screen, an hour or two before, at least 2 hours before bedtime, and so get the screen issue away and, try to have a more active life. So you have the natural fatigue that should happen at the end of the day, not eating so many sugars and carbohydrates, and also using herbs like chamomile and basil. I find myself having very restful sleep, and I think that a lot of people um, don't realize the effect that it could actually really have on you. It really helps with inflammation and swelling, which is one of the reasons why they think that it is helpful in combating issues like rheumatoid arthritis. And they didn't mention fibromyalgia or sciatica or things like that, which I have, but I'm going to go ahead and infer that if it helps with inflammation, it will help with those types of things as well. And it also helps with infection. So, like, is there anything basil can't do? I'm not going to go over this article, but this article here, I'm going to link these two articles into the description as well as the comment boxes so you actually have access to the information. This article here really defines oxidative stress really well. So if you want to peruse it, I'm going to go ahead and share that with you later. So here you can see the article. This one is also from Medical News Today about oxidative stress. I'm not going to go over it, but I'm going to link it to the video so you can see. And you can see here about the berries. I'm not fibbing you guys. I'm telling you, you need to have a garden. You need to have a garden yesterday. Grow as much as you can. Lots of herbs, lots of berries. If that's all you grow, then that is a great start. Blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, strawberries, and it's really good for for glycemic levels and everything, and helps with inflammation. And I will tell you that I saw huge changes in my health whenever I had berries as a meal. I would basically have a bowl of berries every morning. It wouldn't be an official bowl. I'd basically go out early in the morning and water and weed before it got hot out. and I would pick whatever was ripe. And so sometimes it'd be a lot of strawberries and a couple of this or that. Sometimes it'd be a lot of raspberries and a little bit of this or that. But I basically got a medley of berries every morning from May through probably September. May, June, July, August, September. It might have been 5 months. And then in the year time, like the regular rest of the year, I don't have a lot of access to as many berries because of the price tag that goes with them. But 4 or 5 months of the year, you can make some significant health improvements and then do whatever you can um, to have really good nutrition, whether you're freezing them, maybe you can preserve them so that you have them all year long. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of our seed vendors where you can find all these magnificent varieties of basil. Now, and my gardener right now has 4 seed varieties, it looks like, but usually has a lot more. That now is not the time of year where there are like total in stock, quantities. So I would recommend coming back and checking out his stuff later on too and seeing what else there is, because I did sort for what's available now. So lemon basil, dark opal basil, Siam queen, and cinnamon. And the cinnamon taste has a really neat flavor. Um, Definitely, I would recommend all of them. I have lots of packets of dark opal, so I'll probably be growing a lot of that this year. Um, Whenever you see that dark purple, that dark burgundy or red color, um, it's a sign of lots of antioxidants, which is something we definitely need to have. So all of these look really good. Um, for different, I'd probably do teas with all of them and then see if maybe the dark opal or the queen basil, see if those might also go well with more savory type dishes. I'm not sure. So you've got to experiment, right? And then, of course, my beloved Baker Creek has just a plethora of different types of basil, from cinnamon, momolo, Persian, Emily, lettuce leaf with Emily is another Genovese type, African num num, Chinese sweet, blue spice. I talked about the blue spice just the other day. It is floral. It has a delicate anise or licorice type undertone to it. I absolutely loved it. My husband didn't like it, but I love it. Love it. So I would definitely recommend it. Sometimes, somebody in your family might really love something, and the other person hates it. It's definitely worth a spot in your garden, even if it's just one person who likes it. So Thai sweet basil, EVV, and Tor, I'm not sure how to say that, a coco mesa, Thai holy, Siam queen, dark opal, dark purple opal. So a lot of the vendors have some of this, a couple things in common, but there's a lot of variety here. The lettuce leaf here looks really cool, and I have seeds for that, so I definitely want to grow some. And some of them will even tell you if it's good for pesto. The African Num Num says it's good for pestos. So absolutely lots of choices here, and they're all really reasonably priced, like $3 for these seeds, and you get how many? 100 seeds. Okay, I will show you later when I start getting my seeds ready, how I start my herbs, and I really have a good trick for that. So you'll have to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you get those videos when I get my herb garden started. All right, so then the other seed vendor I wanted to show you, this is the seed one I want to put in my basket right now. I'm not sure how to say it. Marani basil. This is strictly medicinal. I've talked about strictly medicinal before. They have a lot of kind of more obscure types of seeds, some are traditional or cultural. So you have to make sure you do your research and you know what you're doing, because a lot of them are not like run of the mill. So, but there are a lot of choices here. So there's lots of different kinds of tulsis, which are the holy basils. There's Vana, Krishna, Rama, temperate, Kivimbasi, another kind of temperate. This one's a potted plant. So they have potted plants and they also have seeds. So some of these are potted. If the ones that are a little bit more on the expensive side, they are potted. Um, Generally smaller pots, but they come like already pretty well established. We have some basil, sweet lettuce, Thai basil. This is so cute. It looks like a little hedge. Greek Morani, which is the one I'm interested in buying next, and then the Genovese. So there's just so many choices of basil. You need to choose something. So definitely gotta get your Genovese or your sweet basil, and then choose at least one other kind, you guys, to kind of explore the different flavor profiles of basil. Okay, and I promised you that I would share with you at the end of the video my poor man's alternative to basil, poor man's basil. So here's my story. It was last year or the year before, probably the year before, after I had gone to that work thing where I learned about these caprese salads. I kind of got addicted, and I'll tell you right now, I know that that there's cheese, that's mozzarella, and I know that there's the balsamic syrup, but when I was losing a lot of weight, I've been on the upward trend lately, but when I was losing a lot of weight, I was not completely going like extreme low carb. I was basically whatever is in my garden, I could have anything from my garden. I would have a little bit of balsamic syrup. I'd have a tiny bit of honey, a tiny bit of this or that. Um, but I was mostly eating berries and salads and really just really good stuff for me. It wasn't um it wasn't like batches of butter. I would have butter, but I wouldn't have like a lot of it. I don't have that flavor of having a lot of heavy stuff. So anyway, I have this like major urge to have this caprese salad, and I have everything out. So I got out, I have my everything's good to go. I have it on the plate. It looks beautiful. And then I go to open up. So my basil in the summer last year and the year before, um, I would have it grow like a couple, like maybe 5 or 6 inches, and then it would bolt. And I would just have to keep planting more and more and more because it was so stinking hot. It was like 105 degrees, over 105 degrees. And so basil likes to bolt when in that kind of weather. So I had run out of basil and I bought a clamshell basil from the store. And it was fresh. It was like bread. It was, I should say, not fresh. It was new. I had just bought it and I went to open it up and it was slimy. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to eat that. That's gross. But I had a hankering. I had a hankering. And I was like, what am I going to do with this caprese salad without basil? And I thought, okay, well, I often, as like when I'm low carbing, um, I'm looking for alternatives. Like I can plug in this for that. I can have, mushrooms instead of a potato. I can have, and I still will eat potatoes if it's from my garden. Um, so I was thinking about it and I had the idea and I went outside and I picked some mint. So mint is actually a relative of basil and it has a lot of the same medicinal properties and it has some of its own as well. Mint is also very, very healthy. And so if you are struggling to grow mint, if you keep trying and failing and your climate just doesn't work for you, and you go to the store and it's $10 for basil, then you can grow mint, and mint grows invasively. Like I have mint growing in my grass. I mow the lawn and it smells like a mojito or pesto. I'm not kidding. For real, it does. So grow mint. And if you run out of basil and you're trying to make a tea or a pesto um, or even a caprese salad, you can use mint instead. Mint is a poor man's basil. I hope that helps you guys. I hope you stuck around to get that great tip and that you try it. The only thing I'd say is a little bit different um, on the swap out on that is the texture is a little bit different. So if you pick younger leaves, the softer leaf of the um, mint, that it's a better trade off. It works better in place. So go for the younger leaves if you can, and it's a great alternative. At first, you're like, wait, I recognize it's different, but then after you've had a few bites of it, you're like, wow, this is really incredible. Almost better, not better, but almost. So it's okay. We roll with it. We are creative individuals, and when there is a snafu or some kind of conundrum, some kind of obstacle, we find ways around it. And sometimes those ways around it lead to really great accomplishments and discoveries. All right, everybody. I hope that you are going to come up, with some ideas of your own. Try out some of the many different varieties of basil that there are. Check out, of course, Baker Creek. Look at their seeds. There are other vendors as well. I'm using the ones that I use the most because I feel really confident in sharing my sources with you guys. And I will say, and my gardener, keep checking back on the site because they have a lot of seeds. And the trick here is to click in stock because a lot of things are sold out because a lot of things are really popular, right? And there's always that stocking system, right? And I always like to give a shout out and support to smaller companies. And I will tell you, I am a true Emma Gardner fan. I used to watch I want to say this kid, when he was doing videos for some kind of plant company. Before he ever had Emma Gardner, I was looking up videos to try to grow vanilla. And he had a video about vanilla orchids. And I used to watch several of his videos. And then when I stumbled across Emma Gardner, I was like, oh my gosh, he grew up. So there's a real soft spot in my heart. He also looks a lot like one of my brothers. And so I'm like, oh, he looks like a kid, like my family. So I have a soft spot for Emma Gardner and his family and the little kids and all of that. They're such a sweet family, such nice people. I really love how genuine and kind of person they are. So I really do, even though they only have the 4 varieties right now, I really do want to tell you that companies grow because they have a following. And so Emma Gardner is definitely one that deserves a following. And it's just a really amazing company. So I love their business model. I think they're good people. And so I really want to encourage you guys to shop from him whenever you can, and also obviously continue to support Baker Creek because they actually did um, a real nice fundraiser for Ukraine a while back, and of course, I had to buy a lot of seeds to support the people in Ukraine. At the time, I had a student who was from there who was really sad and family was stuck there. So God definitely, support people all around the world who are going through really just drastic things. But yeah, some of these companies are really, let's see, like philanthropists. They really care about the world and what's happening in the world. So, lots of different reasons to follow these people. I love the history, the heirloom, the quality, um, some of the types of plants that are out there, like have been lost. And so every once in a while you'll find something that's like, wow, this has been lost for 50 years or for 100 years, and now it's back into the popular, being available to people again. So when you have those kinds of opportunities to seed save, please also consider that. If you're seed saving, that If you have crosses, you don't send them on to other people with the name, with a true name on there. That you actually, say this is a mix or this is a blend or something. But if you're really interested in seed saving like I am, you can choose your favorite type, grow it pretty much exclusively so that you have really good heirloom seed quality, and then you can be like a seed vault for, you know, whatever may come in the future, that you can actually propagate your own seeds and be that resource for other people. All right, everybody. I hope that you liked, the medicinal uses, the whole idea of trying to reduce oxidative stress, that you saw some varieties at either My Gardener or at Baker Creek or at Strictly Medicinal that you might want to try out. And maybe you liked it. My idea on the poor man's basil using mint. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I love to hear your feedback. What is your favorite type of mint? And have you noticed any mental, physical, cognitive improvement from incorporating mint as part of your diet? All right, everyone. God bless you. Live long and prosper. And don't forget to hit the bell for notifications and subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow.